Hello, lords and ladies of the realm. My name is Emily Sophia, and I am going to be breaking down for you fantastic ladies and gentlemen the latest episode of Game of Thrones. So spoiler alert before we dive into the mad thick of things, as I will be bearing all in this review. And without further ado, let's kick it. Let's get into the nitty-gritty details. So I will tell you, I will probably butcher names, miss a few things here and there, but I'll do my best to walk you through all the little pieces, whatever blanks I happen to create. Feel free to fill them in the comments, and we'll keep that conversation rolling, okay? So I have to say that as a whole, this episode felt to me more transitionary than really bombastic and in your face. I mean, there were some exciting moments and of course moments of intrigue because, I mean, really, what is an episode of Game of Thrones without that aspect, okay? So I'm slow to judge episodes based on, oh, there wasn't enough that was happening, there wasn't enough bloodshed. I would argue, you know, there was a good bit of spillage of the ruby red life juice, but I have a sense that some people might deem this episode to be a bit slower, and I suppose that could be true. I mean, really, there's kind of a slow brew going on at King's Landing as far as the political alliances we're gearing up for, as Marjorie happily notes, many more weddings to come. And all of us are just like, let's not. I'd like to go to a funeral, actually. Can we, like, do a funeral? Because at least when it comes to funerals, you know who's gonna be dead, rather than walking into this event where it could pretty much be anybody and everybody, you know. So we're gearing up for, yeah, Tyrion's trial and weddings and brewing tensions, you know. So basically we're kind of seeing some of those nuances. We see that Brienne and Podrick are taking off to go try and protect the Stark girls per the oath sworn for Jaime. We see, of course, at the very end, we had at long last the burning of Craster's Keep, the liberating of the women who were trapped there. We see that Bran and company were able to escape relatively unscathed. I mean, I had my fears, but instead of Bran uniting with his brother, he chooses to pursue the three-eyed raven and the visions that he shares with Jojen. So we have all these different moving pieces, and I'll go ahead and break everything down for you in depth, and feel free to let me know what you think about what and what you're anticipating as well, being that there are a few groups that we didn't get to touch on, namely Tyrion, the activity at Dragonstone. There's some other stuff in the periphery, but the episodes, I think, do a pretty good job of moving between the different character arcs and kind of showing what's brewing where. So we begin, of course, with the crowning of the most adorable king in all the land, Tommen Baratheon, who's just, I just want to pinch the crap out of his little ruddy cheeks. That boy is still just a wee babe, and he's got Marjorie rooting for him from the sidelines, minus the pom-poms, but hey, you really can't get a better support system than that. And I have to say that I adored the scene where, you know, we see that Tommen and Marjorie are making eye contact, she's waving, and he's like, hey girl, I got this. This whole Westeros business, I'm on it. Don't you worry about a thing. And then, of course, right, we see Marjorie's line of her point of view, and then that is interrupted by the dominating figure of Cersei. And of course, to follow after that, after the crowning of the first of his name, Cersei and Marjorie have a very interesting little discussion together. You really never know what's gonna happen when it comes to those two, because there have been some bitter words laced with wormwood between the two of them. But of course, I mean, I figure that Cersei is playing some kind of game, and I know from people who have read the books that she is pretty much going to set about a path of destruction of some sort in her influence in King's Landing, so I'm just kind of waiting to see when the ball is gonna get rolling, okay? But, so they talk about Joffrey. And Marjorie continues to put up this front of mourning for him, but Circe's like, hey, let's be real, the kid was a living nightmare. I've had a soft spot for him, as a good mother should, but come on. Let's have some girl time. Let's take down the facades a bit. And then she goes so far as to suggest that Tommen will need help in his reign. So Circe says. And I think that scene is kind of illuminated later on by Circe's discussion with Papa Tywin as they're trying to figure out how to alleviate the debt situation that they're facing with the Iron Bank, and having this alliance with the Tyrells, who are essentially their greatest rival for resources, by sticking together, making these matrimonial connections will allow them to confront the matter of this debt and to move forward and gain momentum in securing and acquiring more power. So that's kind of the way that I see that situation break down, but they seem to have kind of a cordial little exchange for once, which seems to but thinly veil the many tensions beneath. And again, I'm really curious to see what my dear Circe girl is up to. And we didn't get to see Jaime this week. Despite the weirdness of episodes past and the whole, the continuing fallout from the funeral sex scene, I'm trying to just kind of put that behind me and sort of look at things as they're going forward, but I do look forward to seeing what else is going to be happening with Jaime as well. So that was another little gap that was left in the narrative this week, but I'll survive. We'll make it through. So then, of course, we travel on, shimmy our way across from Westeros to see what's going on with our Dany girl. And she gets some unfortunate news that essentially all these cities that she is going about liberating, like the freaking, what to even call her? I mean, breaker of chains is the perfect way to put things. But she has been going forth and has seen victory upon victory upon victory, but then in hindsight, turning around to kind of see, whether or not what she's put in place is actually still standing, she comes to find out that that is not exactly the case, and that masters are resuming their positions, or other despotic leaders are appointing themselves, and thus kind of resetting the clocks that Miss Targaryen had gone about breaking with such finesse and vigor. So now the question is she still going to try to pursue her journey to King's Landing? Or is she going to, as she says, make like queen and rule? That was a beautiful diva moment that she had there, I have to say. Like, when it comes to scenes with Dany, you have to watch her eyebrows, because those things are just, they are doing a whole dance of their own. And it was just nothing but sass. She was bringing it something fierce. If I had some kind of system of recording it, I think again, it's all in the eyebrow movement, okay? Don't pluck your eyebrows to death, okay? Because I dare say there's some power in that. I think Emilia Clarke can attest to that. But anyways, so she's trying to figure out, where does she need to focus her power? What does it mean to be this leader that she is and that she is becoming? How can she be trusted, and is she deserving of having people follow after her if the systems that she's trying to put in place are not holding? So she is ready to substantiate herself as a ruler and to build up her own integrity before she goes forward to pretty much conquer the rest of the world, which I say is a pretty fair choice on her part. So best of luck to you, my darling dearest. Also wondering what's going on with the dragons. Are they on like spring break or something? Haven't seen them in a little while, and I know that one of the last times we saw them, she and Jorah were discussing how they were kind of getting beyond her grasp. So who knows, maybe they're just taking long strolls on the beach, but I'm curious to see how they're coming along as far as growing up in the dragon world, or the soon-to-be dragon world, really. Keeping it on the DL, but they're in the picture. I'm still thinking about that. So anyways, we go over to what was one of the more interesting arcs in the episode, which is that of Baelish, Lady Erin, and Sansa. Okay, so that was a really fascinating situation, and of course full of subtext on the part of Baelish and whatever it is that he's actually up to. And ultimately we see later on in the episode that what begins, again, as another cordial exchange, just us girls hanging out, chatting, catching up, trying to just relax, turns into a heated discussion between aunt and niece as to what exactly the niece's relationship with the uncle is, that being Sansa's connection to Baelish, and why he is so jealous for her care. And that is something to me that I'm still trying to figure out, and I don't endeavor to suppose much when it comes to Baelish, because he he is a man of deep and abiding secretism, and I'm not going to endeavor to touch that, because I like to be surprised, even if it's kind of an awful surprise, like the whole betrayal of Ned Stark in season 1, but whenever he just comes out of the woodwork and whatever he's got going on, it's exciting to see him unveil that. So again, I'm not really going to make a ton of predictions as far as what he's really up to, and maybe those of you who have read the books already have some insight into that and are just enjoying the show. In which case, I'll eat the popcorn along with you and just be happy in my ignorance until I know what the crap this guy's doing. Yeah, but so they make it to the Eyrie. Uncle Peter shows up. He's well beloved by Robin, whom Sansa is evidently supposed to marry later on after Tyrion is executed. Although we do hope that things will ultimately go otherwise for those of us who have our own vested interests in our dear Tyrion. But yeah, so Sansa seems to be in slightly better circumstances, but again, there is this whole tension with Lady Erin, who knows Peter's affections for Catelyn and that whole history, and sees Sansa as basically a living extension of that, and that thus makes her a rival. So it's hard to say exactly how safe Sansa really is. And being that she's currently in a state of hiding, is there any way that anybody could get intel on her location? I mean, I think that later on she's really going to become a bigger focal point of activity. There's already a lot of people that are out there playing the where in the world is Sansa Stark game. You know, there's Carmen Sandiego, Sansa Stark. There's a lot of ladies who are MIA in this universe here, so we'll see where exactly that goes. I would not go so far as to say that Baelish has any semblance of genuine affection for Lady Erin, and that this again is a strategic alliance on his part. That's just my guess. I would love to know what your theories are, and preferably, if you're going to share any spoilers, do preface that. So for those of you who don't know and are looking to make some kind of prediction, I'd love to hear what you think and collaborate with you and conspire, see what exactly is going on. But it definitely seems that Lady Erin is getting played big time by Baelish, and that ultimately he's going to unfold the next stage in this grand scheme of his, and I'm kind of morbidly excited. Morbidly because I know that this guy, it's neither good nor evil when it really when it comes to anybody in this world. So enough yakety yakking about the events at the Eyrie. So we go back briefly to Tywin and Cersei, and again they're kind of talking about the debt, Tyrion's fate, the roles that the Tyrells are going to play. So again, this is all kind of ramping up to some bigger climaxes that I think are going to be coming later on. And finally we get to go back to Arya and the Hound. Good to see our dynamic duo, the Fox and the Hound, out in the woodlands, and So I really enjoyed their scenes, and of course the deep and abiding snarkiness that we get from the two of them. So Arya again is repeating to herself the list of names of those whom she will kill, and she might need to make some amendments to that list once she comes upon the most relevant information as to who is in the land of the living. But you know, whatever it is that keeps this sister going, I'm all for it. And of course the Hound isn't really having it with the whole trying to use Arya's list as a lullaby. It's not exactly working for him, especially when his name is the last name on her list of people to eliminate. And I don't know if that's something that she really is set on, or if she was just kind of trying to mess with him, but knowing when it comes to Arya, she's pretty sincere about the people that she has a loathing for. So really, this alliance with the Hound, for her, is something that is more circumstantial than it is we have this chord, we have this true affinity, and I think that they're both just denying it. You know, the best friends out there, they're always gonna say that they hate each other, like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, I'd kill you right back. I don't know, but she's got reason to hate him. But at least the two of them are together on the issue that they loathe the mountain. And I think it'd be fascinating to see how exactly things really would transpire if the two of them were to meet their mutually hated person. So that was all fun. We'll see how their journey transpires, and if there will be any other situations to arise along the way that will bring the two of them together, create a little bit of bonding. And then yeah, so like I said, back at the Eyrie, Lady Erin and Sansa are having some good talks, you know, about the past, and then things take a very violent turn when Lady Erin feels threatened by Baelish's care and concern for Sansa. It goes from talking about, you know, the lovingly provided lemons for the lemon cakes, which Sansa loves, to, have you been sleeping with my new boo? Not your typical inter-family drama, but that's just kind of how things go in the Westeros world. You're really not cushioned from that kind of sort of tension anywhere you go. It's pretty much everyone versus everyone when it comes to these kinds of things. And then of course she, like I mentioned earlier, as things simmer down and Sansa freaking breaks before her aunt, all of a sudden this I am going to crush her soul moment turns into this pseudo maternal, oh, there, as soon as your husband's gone, you'll have another husband and it'll just be dandy. Lady of the Vale status. Are you looking forward to that or what? And poor Sansa, just give the woman a break. Let her be between men for a time and not having to deal with the dating pool here, which to her is not so much a pool as it is this puddle. It's about like this wide around, you know, talking circumference, and then it is as deep as Mariana's Trench. She's just stuck in this place. And I do fear for her, but I am interested in what exactly it is that Peter wants with her. Because it's not exactly what Lady Erin thinks that he wants. Or is it? I don't know. I really can't say. And then we get to see some fun moments with Brienne and Podrick. That was just some pure comedy right there, as he is attempting to cook a rabbit with its fur still intact, and his bumbling about on the back of a horse, and Brienne is trying very gingerly yet sternly to get this guy out of the picture. She doesn't mind going lone wolf, but Podrick is out there to secure his honor, and ultimately when he explains to Brienne how it is that he came into Tyrion's service as a squire and his heroic rescue at Blackwater, once he explains that scenario, Bran decides to allow him to help remove the armor that she has been removing herself for years. So we have that transition into a place of respect. So happy trails to the both of them, and we'll see what adventures are going to ensue in that department. So then we also get a really interesting scene between Oberyn and Cersei, and we know that Oberyn has a nitty-gritty history with the Lannisters, and so any situation in which he is one-on-one with a Lannister, he's going to take the opportunity to let his venom suffuse into the interaction. But this time around, they kind of have a little space in which to bond with one another and have some kind of understanding as they realize, you know, what are the limitations on their power, or what is the purpose of having power if they're not able to protect their loved ones, when it comes to Oberyn's failure or inability to save his sister and Cersei's inability to save her son. And then ultimately they end up talking about what's going on with Cersei's daughter, who she hasn't seen in a long time. She can only hope and dream that she is being cared for and is in a place of happiness, but she knows that women all throughout Westeros and beyond are abused. In no place are they ever truly safe. But she has this moment with Oberyn where he gives a testimony of how she's doing, and Cersei seeks to have a gift sent her way, and so there's this interesting little moment again where Cersei seems to be attempting to bond with these different individuals, and what the force is behind that bonding is arguably political, or for furthering her own status and her own place in securing the Lannister legacy. But it's interesting to see that soft veneer of a willingness to even interact with others that Cersei has, because she's not afraid to tell people to just back the fuck up, you know. She has no fear in that respect at all. And then ultimately the episode ends with a long session at Craster's. And so we see that Bolton's henchman is sneaking in and getting a lay of the land for his own purposes. He needs to be the first one to know where Bran is so he can get in and get out, and nobody will even know that the boy was there to be missed. So there's that side of the equation, and of course Jojen reveals to Bran that Bran's journey is not over. And I mean, I was honestly surprised when all of them made it out together. It's the little blessings that you've just got to take when they come. But so Jojen shares this this prophetic image that Bran himself has had, and I'm just sort of taking things as they come when it comes to what's happening in this story arc, and I don't really know what to predict or what the three-eyed raven means and all the crazy metaphors, imagery, symbolism. I'm just, again, I will take it as it arrives to me, the consumer of the show. So we know that his journey is not over, that arguably he's going to be getting out of this situation alive, although it's hard to say what kind of journey he's going to have once the henchman slips in, as the battle begins and the Night's Watchmen engage the mutineers. So we have a fantastic moment where of course Bran is able to use his, I don't know what you want to call it, but his ability to assume other forms and get into other minds. I was actually just playing Beyond Two Souls. I just finished that game today with my siblings. Really freaking crazy, weird, messy, but fantastic game, by the way. And so it kind of reminded me of that, but he's able to use Hodor as a freaking wrecking ball. Okay, I mean, I assume that when Hodor attacked the henchmen, that was kind of through Bran's influence. And poor Hodor after that is like, there is blood on my hands, Hodor, and yet they're ultimately all able to escape together. Bran has to make that decision really quickly whether he's going to try and stay with Jon, who will want to protect him and not let him continue north, or if he's ultimately going to pursue those visions and see what exactly is going on. And I feel that it's going to be something that is of great import later on. And the long term is ultimately what Bran is the most willing to invest in. And so we continue to play the let's separate the Starks game that this show basically is. It's a Game of Thrones, and it's also a game of messing with the Starks, whom they try to get us to love and be on their side, just only to break them apart. It's the cruelty of things. And then we get to see the epic showdown with the leader of the mutineers and Jon, and, well, it ain't the cat that's got his tongue, but the sword. And so we have a satisfyingly bloody finish to a guy who was, dare I say, impossible to like in the slightest. So that was good. Again, very cathartic ending. They get to burn Crasters, and now they're going to move forward, so now they don't have to worry about that situation, but what else is to come? So we kind of leave off on that note, and then feel free to leave any of your other predictions below. I'm more than happy to check them out and to just talk about whatever when it comes to this show. There's lots of little things to discuss, so let's do that, shall we? We are halfway through the season, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty crazy. Again, I think that we are gearing up for some powerful episodes ahead, so pack your Kleenex, your Depends, you know, make that Walmart or Costco run, get what you need in bulk, because it's been too long since we shed some good tears, blood, sweat, and tears on our end. It's coming. The showrunners, they're gonna be making their collection soon, so let's be ready for that, shall we? But thank you so much for watching. You are brilliant and fabulous people. And as always, I will be back before you know it.